Well, Dobro Jutro. This morning we're going to be making pitizzas. The recipe has two phases, or two components. The first component of the recipe is you make something like a brioche. So that's a bread with eggs and butter. And the second bit is you make the filling. And the filling is a nut filling, but it has a lot of the characteristics of a souffle, at least the chemistry of a souffle. That means egg whites and milk, and that's what makes the filling nice and fluffy. So the first step is we need to proof our yeast. So come with me over here, and what I like to do when I proof the yeast is, they don't call for this in the recipe, but I like to add a little sugar so that the yeast has something nice to eat and gets going happily. Very important because the nuts are very heavy, and so if you want the pizza to rise and be fluffy, you need to have the yeast really working hard. So that's why we proof it first. So 2 tablespoons of, this is like 2 packages or 2 tablespoons of conventional yeast. That's in lukewarm water, and we just let it set there for a while, and it's going to start working. It's going to start foaming. We'll see what that looks like in a moment. While that's getting started, the next step is to separate eggs. Okay. Now, what the recipe calls for is 4 eggs, and you separate the whites and the yolks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some extra egg whites to the fillings so that it's going to be more fluffy. And so there'll be 2 egg yolks extra, and I'll show you what we do with the extra egg yolks in just a second. So let's separate the eggs. Okay, here come the whites, and there's a trick. You just sort of pop the white back and forth, and you've separated the eggs. So 1, oh, this worked out really well. 2. We're going to go fishing for the shell there. 3. 4. And extra egg white for fluffiness. Leave that there. There's always somebody who wants an extra egg yolk. So you go over there and lay down. You lay down. Got the elbows down too. That's the egg yolks. So now we're going to grind some nuts. Generally, for the filling, it's best if the nuts are very finely ground. So I always use the finest setting in my KitchenAid. Here we go. To the brioche part of the recipe, and one of the things it calls for is 2 cups of scalded milk, and I heat the milk. That's scalded milk is just heated milk. So here we go with our 2 cups. There. And butter, 2 sticks of butter. These we're going to put right in here. Oh, my yeast is proofing really well, so I'm going to have to hurry. What's the recipe say? 2 cups of skull milk, 3/4 cups of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, the egg yolks. So, a tablespoon of salt. And we're after sugar, 3/4 cup of sugar. There we go, that's the ticket, 3/4 cup. Now, I better just get this yeast into there, or we're going to have a disaster. The yeast goes in. Like so. Nice and foamy. Let's see, it's very busy yeast. Okay, so we've been on hiatus while the scalded milk and butter cooled. It needs to be about 120 degrees or below. If not, the temperature will kill your yeast. So let's check it here, see where we're at. We're okay. There. Yeah, we're right at 120. So let's put this in there. Clean it all out. And the dough wants 8 to 9 cups of flour. I've already added the egg yolks in there, and what else? A little vanilla, salt. So we're kind of ready to go. So let's mix it up. There's no elegant and dignified way to do this, and this is why I'm wearing the white t-shirt. Once the dough explodes on me, you'll never know. So, here's our pizza dough. We're going to have to let it rise initially for an hour or so until we can poke it and the impression remains. So right now it's still rising, and we want it to rise at a nice warm temperature. So what I have is a trick. This is called a snuggle safe. It's actually for keeping your pets warm. Put it right on top there. And put a blanket on it. Well, this isn't exactly part of the recipe, but the old Slovenian ladies who taught me how to do it say that as your bread rises, you have to stop for your kozarac vina. It's your glass of wine. And so what I have here is some amber wine that I made from grapes that I grow here. So you see it's got a nice dark sort of color to it. That's because it's fermented on the skins and with the seeds. So, cheers, or Nostrovnia!